Good now, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show.
The Rise Up Morning Show.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's Tuesday, October 7th, and we are so glad to be with you for helpful news, commentary, answers to your crypto questions, and now new computers. I am pleased to report that thanks to our wonderful partnership with the White Whale, Will has unboxed a beautiful, brand new baby laptop, computer, desktop. What did you end up getting? It's like a tower.
To think that I would spend money on a laptop, crazy
Listen,
for
man.
you to think of me. I know you have the laptop.
I did.
I'm not. I'm a desktop man. I like them about this wide and about as heavy as you could possibly need to replace kettlebells to do a good workout. That is what I like, and also an annoying level of customization that is required for you to add to it after you get it, which is why I was accidentally spending 4 hours getting my desktop set up with all the bells and whistles.
Man, and
Last
that
night.
was why no market watch. Will was not, in fact, kidnapped. He was not neglecting you. He was not mad.
Yeah,
he
my
was mad busy setting up his new laptop. I mean,
Yeah.
computer. Damn it. I'm going to do it all the time.
Damn it. Yeah, I apologies for not getting to market watch last night, everybody. I gave myself a little bit over 2 hours to basically like scrape the old desktop, clean everything so I could throw it up for parts on Facebook Marketplace, and it's already been sold, which is great.
Wow.
And now, yeah, dude. Well, I mean, like, hey, when you take some computer parts, granted, they're all 3.5, 4 years old, so the computer parts in there aren't great. But put them up for $100. People stop by, they grab them. It's great. But no, it took me 4 hours to scrub that whole baby clean, move everything to the cloud, get this whole thing set up, move everything back, get all the drivers set up, figure out how all the audios. I had audio issues, but anyway. The new big crux is trying to figure out a name for my new computer.
We don't have a name?
I thought it was going to be Gengar. I thought this new computer was going to be Gengar, but I'm like, you look a little bit more like a Mewtwo. You kind of feel like the 3 legendary birds. She's thick too. Like this is a $4,000 computer. This is a big girl, and so I'm like, she's kind of thick like Venusaur a little bit too. So she's a Pokemon. I just got to find out which one.
Okay, then leave your suggestions for Will's computer's new name in the comments. Maybe we can throw a picture up in the Circle community so that you can get some real-time feedback. And
That'd be good.
this is your signal that if you are not there yet, you should check out the free community we cultivate with crypto users at all levels of experience, because we've already got great questions rolling in. But if for some reason we don't get to your show today or tomorrow or on a future show, go where the show lives 24/7. I'm talking about community.rumshq.com. The only thing missing, my friends, is you. So, Will, since we didn't get Market Watch last night, I'm taking note of all the different questions folks are asking. But maybe as I curate them, you wouldn't mind giving us a little market update. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You'll do it? Yeah? Oh,
Yeah,
I should say for the folks back home that Alex sends his apologies. He's doing some parenting today and begged us to forgive him for his absence. He didn't beg us. He just said, hey, sorry, I won't be there. And I said, hey, no problem. We love you. Yeah.
Love you. Yeah.
Okay, what are we looking at?
Let's do some charting. We're looking at Bitcoin here on the daily time frame. And so I'll clean this up just a tiny itsy bitsy baby bit, because it's a little gross if you look at it just like this, and there are a lot of lines. So this is Bitcoin on the daily time frame. I have gone ahead and I have used my trend-based Fibonacci extension tool, which, let's just do it fresh for anybody who wants to learn. We use the trend-based Fibonacci extension tool, the thing that had those rainbows there, to show us where points of resistance are on the chart when you are in price discovery. Price discovery meaning when you're, in this case Bitcoin, is hitting new all-time highs. Because if it's hitting new all-time highs, there's no previous price action to show you points of resistance, right? So how do we find points of resistance when we don't have previous price action to do so? Trend-based Fibonacci extension tool is a tool to do that. So I clicked the bottom of the big bull move that we had recently to the top of the big bull move, like macro wise, right? So this is price action over like 3 months or so. And then we take this rainbow chart and we bring it down to the bottom of the most recent correction that we had, which would be the end of August. And so now we can see all these lines of resistance. And hey, look at that. It happens to line up perfectly, even better than I did before, with the price that we hit yesterday, which is acting as resistance. Funny how that works. It's almost like everyone else has access to the exact same tools to make decisions. A lot of charting and a lot of what happens in markets is simply because a lot of people think it's going to act that way, so it acts that way. And that's the ultimate reasoning behind a lot of these things. So anyway, we have this point of resistance here, right? And so if we pull up our indicators here, we can see that we're starting to build bullish momentum on our Moxie indicator here. We're flipping the 0. And let's go to more of a long-term time frame. Let's go to the weekly chart. Now, if we go to the weekly chart, the Moxie is above the 0 here, so we are bullish. The relative strength index is not in overbought territory, so we don't look toppy. Even the stochastic RSI, which mind you is not a good top indicator, but it is still something to account for. It isn't near overbought territory either. And also this weekly candle right here that we got last week is very bullish. So things on the weekly chart are telling us that looks like we could have a really good Q4 and several weeks of, mostly upside price action here. So we feel pretty bullish about that. And so when we come back to the daily time frame, and we can see that there's, actually, let me do this. Let me go to the 4-hour chart, because the 4-hour chart has been showing us that momentum has been slowing down on the relative strength index, because we have had the relative strength index posting lower highs since October 2nd. Today is October 7th. And so we see momentum is waning here, but at that same time, price has been going upwards. This means that price going up it's great. It's going up, still going up. That's wonderful. But the force of which the bulls are driving it upwards is getting weaker. Okay. So this is telling us that with this divergence, that's what it's called, we should start to see Bitcoin take a little bit of a breather. Or at least we're getting closer and closer to that point. And now that Bitcoin has hit this line of resistance here on our trend-based Fibonacci extension tool, we're probably going to get that now. So if we get that now, we are looking at support on our trend-based Fibonacci extension tool down at $118,000. But we also have, areas of consolidation are areas of support. So we have all of this consolidation right here that is generally marking about $120,000 as support, which also happens to be lining up with the 12-day exponential moving average, which also happens to be pretty damn close to about $118,000, $119,000 from our Fibonacci trend-based extension tool. So what all of that means is that if we take a little bit of a dip here, because our weekly chart reading is bullish, the monthly chart reading is bullish as well, that would mean that if Bitcoin does decide to take a little bit of a breather here, $120,000 to $118.5 thousand is a potentially very strong area of support to catch us. Of course, Bitcoin could just decide, hey, fuck you, and just keep going higher too, which is something that we're fine with. But if we take a little bit of a breather, that is the area that would be likely to catch us, in my personal opinion. Now, that's just Bitcoin. So let me pull up one other chart. And I haven't looked at this at all. Russell 2000, please.
We do have questions asking about ETH and Sol. So even if we don't look at them, we'd love to hear what your take is as you talk about the Russell.
This is more important than ETH and Sol. This is the Russell 2000. What the Russell 2000 is it is the ultimate indicator of, are we in a risk on market across all financial markets, which is pertaining towards Ethereum and Solana and all altcoins. Okay. So the Russell 2000 is the S&P 500, but smaller, right? It's just smaller stocks. It's more volatile. So if this is doing well, then you're in a risk on environment. And ever since April, we have had a V-shaped recovery. It's a very bullish recovery in the Russell 2000. And that's because of, what's been going on with inflation, jobs, and also rate cuts. right? All those things are connected. And so we are right at that previous high. And we've created a double, triple, a quadruple top of sorts. And the more and more we hit this, the more and more likely we are to smash through this. And we can see that we are not overbought in the daily in any way, shape, or form. It really looks like the Russell wants to smash above this, turn it into support, and then move higher in a big explosive way, which is how the Russell 2000 should be acting when we're getting rate cuts, okay? So the stock market is telling us overall, we're in a risk on environment right now. Even if things were to sell off over the next week or so, we are in a risk on environment. That's what the Russell is telling us. And so now let's switch over to altcoins. This is the total 3. I'm going to use a macro time frame here. Let's go, or mid macro at least is the weekly. Total 3. What does this chart show us? It shows us the entire market cap of all cryptocurrencies minus Bitcoin and minus Ethereum. So take out the biggest of the big dogs. And it's like looking at the Russell 2000 for stocks. You are looking at the most risk on part of the market. Altcoins. True altcoins. Because I guess you could argue Ethereum's no longer an altcoin. It's kind of like it's in its own category now. I suppose you could say that, but you know, I wouldn't fault you either way. And so what are we seeing when we look at this? Well, it looks a lot like the Russell, but it's even further ahead a little bit because its previous high that it made in December, actually, yeah, it is just above that previous all-time high. Yep.
Whoop, just tiny little bit.
Just a tiny little bit. But if we're able to hold this as support, the amazing thing here, and I talked about this yesterday, is the potential for altcoins right now is really exciting because this is an expanding channel that we're in. So if we hold this as support, potentially we could go all the way up and test this top line of resistance as, like, in my personal opinion, a maximum potential move, right? I'm not saying it is definitely going to happen, but that's like a maximum potential move, which is an increase in the riskiest part of the altcoin market, in the crypto market, of about 40% potentially. Like, that's as high as I think it would really go in this next major bull run here, fueled by the ETFs. And so let's go over this again. Bitcoin, it's looking good on the weekly time frame, even if it takes a dip. The Russell 2000 is telling us that the overall risk on market is risk on. The total 3, the overall risk on market for crypto altcoins, is also starting to right now, at this very moment, get above key resistance and try to hold it as support. Maybe over the next 1 to 2 weeks, we'll really start to get cooking, and could get cooking super aggressively. And we're seeing momentum on our Moxie indicator get more and more bullish. Evan, thanks for sharing that on TikTok for so long. I know I've been talking a while. I'm sure your arms are tired. Okay, so that's where I'm going to pause right now. And I'm sure there were some questions that came through, and we'll take them, and we can take a look at Ethereum and Solana and all that kind of stuff. But that is the overall picture of the market that we're in from a chart standpoint. Bitcoin looks good, weekly to monthly. Russell 2000 looks good, weekly to monthly. Total 3 for altcoins looks good, weekly to monthly. I don't care about what happens on the daily. I do daily updates and all that kind of stuff because I make content, right? But I do not care as an investor, as a trader myself right now, what happens on the daily, because things look good weekly to monthly. So that's the charts. Now, remember, technical analysis is good, great, and grand, but it's also kind of bullshit. You know, you cannot build a strategy just on technical analysis alone unless you're an absolute savant at it, which I'm not. Most people are not. So you also need to understand what's happening in the macro environment. So really quickly, I'll sum up.
Go for it.
We have rate cuts coming. Liquidity is on the rise. In May, Jerome Powell will step down, and we will get someone who's the head of the SEC who is just going to cut rates like crazy. Global liquidity next year is going to rise even further. Remember, markets are forward-looking. They're looking at these events. They're pricing things in already. Also, in crypto, the SEC is in partial operation right now, which is why they were still able to approve Ethereum staking for the Grayscale ETF product the other day. But once the government is back running again, there's just a slew of altcoin ETF projects that are going to get approved. At least it seems that way, right? Not an oracle of truth, but it certainly seems that way. And so the piping and plumbing of money from traditional finance into crypto and into altcoins specifically is like right there, about to make the final connection. And this market, this entire year, has been a retail-led market to the tune of about 120 to 140 billion dollars of inflows from retail, whereas institutional investors have been selling negative total net $20 billion. Retail loves altcoins. Retail loves ETF products. Altcoin ETF products given to people for the first time who haven't been touching it, I bet they're going to be pretty excited. So that's the macro picture in the line of events that we're facing that is influencing what we're seeing on the charts, which is why the weekly and monthly timeframes look good. And so that is what I am seeing.
I have a follow-up question from the audience that I'm rolling into one. Can you make it even more explicit by looking at Bitcoin dominance to tell us, is altcoin season incoming? And while you do, I want to add 3 colorful indicators as he pulls this up. That last week, there were $3.2 billion of ETF inflows into Bitcoin. Whales seem to have stopped selling. Mid-size holders are accumulating, and several exchanges, by the numbers, are reporting pretty low supply even as people want to buy, indicating that there may be some sort of supply squeeze, the kind we tend to see before Bitcoin's price goes.
The supply squeeze is actually pretty crazy, and I don't have the chart available because I was getting them from our friend Josh in Telegram.
Shout out Josh.
Shout out to Josh. Josh Rhodes, right? His last name is Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
Is that his name on TikTok too?
I don't know.
I
I got it wrong the other day. I do know, actually. I don't want to speak. It's investing y'all. I think it's investing y'all, Josh Rhodes.
It is investing.
But
y'all.
There might be a, so.
No, I'm pretty
Shout
sure.
out Josh.
So here we go. So this is the first time I've looked at Bitcoin dominance since yesterday, because honestly, Bitcoin dominance is great, but we answered the question that was asked. The question was, are we going to get an altcoin season? Yeah. I pulled up total 3. That is telling us that if we hold that support that we're at right now, we are absolutely going to get an altcoin season. And when we take a look at Bitcoin dominance here on the daily, you can see that yesterday we confirmed a bearish break of the 55-day exponential moving average, which was sitting at 59.1% Bitcoin dominance. Now, for those, I would imagine most people watching right now are familiar with Bitcoin dominance because you see my videos, yada, yada, yada. But for those of you who don't know, maybe you're watching this on YouTube, what this chart shows is it does not show price action. It shows the total percent of all of the market cap of cryptocurrency that is held by Bitcoin. So as this chart goes down, it means that altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin. As it goes up, it is the opposite. Okay, so typically this only happens, like we only get an altcoin rally when this chart goes down because altcoins are doing super, super, super well, right? So we saw a bearish break here. We want to see bearish break as altcoin investors. If you're longing, if you're shorting, you want to see it go up. But we had a bearish break here, and we're starting to have a bearish break of this key line of support and resistance here at roughly 58.79%. If we break that, we have a clear, like we're in free fall. If we break this support here, we're in free fall. And I have always had on my target for Bitcoin dominance that as it broke this multi-year long upwards channel that it was in ever since the ETF products came out, and before that, the bear market, that we would head to the 200-day exponential moving average at the very least here at 55.9%, representing about 2.5% move of Bitcoin dominance downwards, which is a very large, significant move of capital towards altcoins, mind you. So that is the next major area of support that Bitcoin dominance could catch us. And we could potentially fall even further to 51.5%, which would be like an altcoin rally, the likes of which we used to see, like back in the day when your altcoin rallies were absolutely gargantuan, right?
What is that? I can't see the year there.
This is 2020.
Yeah.
2020 into 2021. That absolute ripper of a bull market. And so, comparatively, we have just had a little bit of a baby altcoin rally as compared to what we've had in the past, like much, much, much larger, because the ETFs have changed the market. But if we have altcoin ETF products, in a
Yeah.
retail-led and controlled market. Guess what can happen, guys? Now we can have the old altcoin rally before. But again, in my personal opinion, altcoins that have ETF products behind them are the ones that are going to do the best. They're the ones that are going to run the hottest, and they're going to trap liquidity in them because that's what ETFs do. So if the ETF products see really good demand out the gate for Ethereum with staking, we've already seen Ethereum do great. But for your Solana, your XRP, your Cardano, your Doge, your Litecoin, all that kind of stuff, you see retail from traditional finance really start to dive in. We could absolutely see the 200-day EMA break and have a big fall to the 200 simple moving average at roughly 51.3%. This would put our total three chart that I showed before, that would enable us to have about a 40% increase in the altcoin market cap. That's what would do it. And we certainly have all the things lining up. ETF products, boom. Markets retail led, boom. Rate cuts, boom. It's all here in order to have a really nice ripper of an altcoin market. Now it's just a matter of if we actually get it.
So just to be extra clear for anybody who's not hip with it, that was Bitcoin dominance. BTC.D is the ticker. When it goes up, Bitcoin's strong. When it goes down, altcoins are strong. Simple.
To be clear, when Bitcoin dominance goes up, usually it is because Bitcoin is selling, but altcoins are selling harder. Less often than not, it is because Bitcoin is going up and altcoins are kind of flat. That happens every now and again, but it is more common for Bitcoin dominance to go upwards because the market is selling and altcoins always sell harder than Bitcoin.
Beautiful. Thank you for making the complex clear.
I am a big fan of this.
And one final follow-up question from our friend Cosmic. He asked, did you see the double bottom on the DXY? Do you think there's one forming? And what does that mean? So the DXY, so I haven't looked at the DXY because I usually just do that when I'm on with Doug, and sadly, I was a big butt man, big butt face, and big butt face man,
big butt face man, because I was getting my computer set up and it took way too long. So here is DXY. This is a measurement of the strength of the dollar. Okay, and typically, I do think there's much more nuance to this, but typically, if the DXY is going down, so the value of the dollar is decreasing, that means that other assets should be increasing because they are typically measured in comparison to the dollar, unless you're outside of the United States. And even if you're outside of the United States, potentially still measured by the dollar, depending on the market that you're in. And so what I think Cosmic is taking a look at.
He also looked at it on the daily, he said.
Okay, well, let's look at the weekly first. So I don't see a double bottom here on the weekly yet. I see a barely lower low, which is typically a sign that you are starting to have your bearish momentum slow down and turn into bullish momentum. All right. And at the same time, we zoom in and we're actually getting a little bit of momentum here, trying to get above the 12-week exponential moving average. So, we see a real bullish wick here. So it looks like the dollar might want to increase in strength, which would be great if it could do that before I go to Japan for a little bit more than half of November. So that'd be great. And then if the yen could go down and make it real cheap for me, that'd be wonderful. But as investors, if you're about to be a tourist and you have the dollar, you want this to go up. So I don't see a double bottom here, but to Cosmic's point, it is a barely lower low, which is a potential sign of waning bearish momentum here. So if the dollar is going upwards, and I could see the dollar shoot up to the 200 exponential moving average right here to, let's see, that's like a 1.5% move upwards in the strength of the dollar. You could see Bitcoin go down and gold go down and maybe stocks go down a little bit too because of that. But I've also seen the dollar go up in strength and I've seen crypto go up at the same time, right? It's not like these things have to happen. I've seen plenty of outliers against this, particularly because like during this time where the dollar was falling, like crypto was actually also doing not great. So, it's not a perfect one-to-one comparison. It's just a piece of the puzzle. But yeah, I mean, it looks like the dollar wants to go higher, particularly if we can get above this current level here. And from what we're seeing on the weekly, looks like the strength of the dollar wants to go up a little bit.
We also have one more follow-up question from Ott. Thanks for the question, Ott, who says they like to use tether dominance as an indicator in times like this. Will, do you ever look at tether dominance as a sign of bullish or bearish momentum as opposed to Bitcoin dominance?
I only have when people have asked me about it. Basically, the idea is that if the tether dominance of the cryptocurrency market is increasing, it means that more people are moving into stable coins, which is a sign that people are like very fearful and that things are selling off. People are moving out of crypto into stables. But I just haven't looked at it much because, I mean, I don't know. I just haven't looked at it so much. There are so many things to look at that I feel like I'm not missing anything by adding tether dominance. And also, I might just not think about it because I use USDC all the time. And so I'm just like, I would rather, a tether is the most used stablecoin, but I don't know. It's just not something I really look at.
Yeah, I understand.
I probably could add it in a little bit more, but because I don't really have any major thoughts on kind of like what its relationship is like based on the other charts and other markets and stuff. So I shouldn't really talk on it, I feel like.
No, totally fine. Thank you for making the complex clear. If you've got a crypto question, if you've got something you want our take on, then leave it in the comments. I have got several comments right from the very start of the show that I am going to take us back to. So, thank you for being patient to my friends who asked. First, staking in Wisconsin. Can I do it? Will, do you think I should give them the good news or the bad news first?
Just rip it off.
Just rip it off. Okay, listen. You're probably not going to be able to stake unless you do a couple of like questionably legal things. Now, if you are a crypto user on an exchange like Coinbase, on Kraken, on Binance, or something like that, they have a published list of states where staking services are totally restricted. Wisconsin, sorry to say, it's on that list. And also, our friends in New York are on that list.
Not ideal.
It could be that these things will change soon. I expect they will as regulations continue to become more crypto friendly. However, in the meantime, you might find yourself on a decentralized staking service provider like Lido. We've covered this on many other shows before, where you can take money from Coinbase, send it to Lido or another staking service provider that is decentralized. They're not going to ask where you live. They are not going to take your driver's license and put it in a little registry somewhere. And they'll let you do pretty much whatever you want on their platform within the confines of what their computer code allows you to do. So you may need a VPN, a private network that obscures where you're calling in from, so to speak. And if you use one, you'll need to use it consistently. There is a possibility that those websites are blocked or restricted. And if those platforms determine that you are accessing them from an address like that, they may delist you, ban you. You may have a hard time getting your money back or getting your private key to connect to their site in the future. So if that's something you want to learn how to do, then check out the Rise Up community. We've got lots of crypto users from all over. And when I say something you want to do, I'm not suggesting you break a bunch of laws, but I will say there are safe ways to get access to these kinds of services. And more than that, to find out what is permissible and what is not, and to become a more effective advocate for crypto. That's something we all need to do, is tell a better story. So thank you for the question. Sorry about your trouble in Wisconsin. Get in the community at community, wherever you are, whenever you listen, click the link in our bio. A second question we've gotten is about BNB. Will,
I was just about to say,
it's ripping.
I mean, it's not just ripping. It has flipped XRP.
I'm sorry. What?
It has flipped XRP and is now the third largest crypto.
It has retaken the third place.
Well
Some
deserved.
might call it its rightful spot.
It is its rightful spot, honestly.
I am inclined to agree. Even in that last, oh my God, it's 1,300 now. That's like $200 in the last. Look at that.
I mean, dude,
look at that chart.
It's up 30% over the past week.
Yeah, they have been ripping. Do you want to speculate about why that might be?
Dude, I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to speculate.
Okay.
Aster, the perp dex, and the volume. The story there is one of the biggest stories in crypto. You take perp dexes and you put Binance with them together in the same sentence. That to me is
true.
big cocktail for activity. But also,
sorry, I'm a child. Sorry.
Also, they have kind of become, I have noticed, like the Ethereum of the rest of the world. In the like Ethereum not doing so hot, I feel like Binance has just continued to gain users, to gain traction. They're not really a US product or company, but everywhere else they've continued to gain mind share and users. They are the Coinbase of everybody else. So
Yeah.
I feel like they're just catching up with the bullish momentum.
Yeah, and then eventually Binance will be allowed to re-enter like the US market in a really big way. They just like are suppressed. So we'll see. Maybe they won't. I don't know. It's becoming a little. Every year that goes by that I've been alive, maybe it's just because I've realized that we don't actually have free markets. Maybe we never had free markets.
Maybe they were never that free.
Never had free markets.
Will, I want to ask you this. Speaking of Binance, our friends at Unchained recently published a list that they call the onchain 5. These are 5 companies or crypto institutions that they think will have the most significant role in bringing people on chain in the years ahead. And just to clarify, when we say on chain, there are crypto services that allow you to buy or sell or use crypto, but not directly own it. If you are on chain, then you are truly like custodying, accessing like the purest form of crypto. You're interacting with blockchain networks directly. It's sort of the difference between like going to the library to use their internet and having an internet modem at your house. You're online, baby. You got a phone in your pocket that's got the internet. You're online. When you're using crypto in that native way, we would say you're on chain. So, Will, I would love for you to guess what you think the on-chain 5, according to Unchained, might be. And I'd like for you to play along at home too. If you're in podcast land, hello. Hope your candles are green. But I'd be really curious to know what companies you think are going to onboard the next billion or however many users. You know, everybody's going to be on chain in the future. So which companies do you think it is?
So to clarify, are these Web3 companies or are these traditional companies that
maybe both? Might be both.
Might
be both. And there are some correct answers rolling in from the comments, among other names. Some of them are wrong. I've heard Ethereum, Pingu, MEXC, Coinbase. So what do you think?
Unchained. Well, so that's
and you just give me. I would like to hear your 5 too.
It is that it is going to onboard the most people.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I don't know. I'll throw Coinbase in there. Coinbase and Binance have to be there.
Man.
Correct.
I'm gonna go with Pudgy Penguins
Okay.
because of what they're doing from the consumer standpoint. Let's see. I almost want to say Circle because of the whole USDC thing, but like I don't know if it's not like Circle is going to onboard the people. It's going to be people who incorporate Circle into their stuff that's going to do it. So I don't think I'll include Circle, even though like it's the component that's going to get it done in the West at least. Let's see. I have 3: Pudgy Penguins, Coinbase, Binance.
Others rolling in from the comments to inspire you: MetaMask, Phantom, Revolut, Robinhood, Gemini, BitUnix, PayPal, Ondo, Ripple, if they become a bank was the qualifier, Kraken.
I mean, Robinhood's in a great spot too to onboard people. I keep wanting to think about something that's not just like finance related.
Okay, so far you've got Coinbase, Binance, Pudgy, and Robinhood ?
Yeah, Robinhood.
You said Circle with like a triple question mark, so I didn't put that on your list.
Yeah.
One more spot. Who do you think it's going to?
Sonium.
Sonium.
It's Sony. It's gotta be Sony, baby. I'll just include Circle and then tell me.
Circle. Okay. So honestly, that's a great list. Unchained's list was also good, and I think you can make a really strong argument for Igloo. They had, as did you, Coinbase, Binance, Robinhood. They had Telegram, and they had Stripe. And I think Stripe is the sleeper. I don't hear that name in a lot of crypto people's mouths, but they acquired now it's just flying from my head. They are in acqui-hiring mode, and I think they are. People talk about how XRP is going to make cross-border payments happen. I think Stripe, they acquired Bridge, they acquired someone else who's going to basically make it possible for them to onboard pretty much every institution to not just like any one of the dozens of models they already have for stablecoins ready to go. They won when Native won the bid for Hyperliquid's like native stablecoin. They went through Bridge, aka Stripe, basically. Oh, Privy is the other company they acqui-hired. And within a day, that stablecoin token after they won the bid was live. And they're going to be able to do that for pretty much for Walmart, for Amazon, for you name it. And they're going to be great smart contracts. And if you want something custom, no problem. We can tweak this to build it for you. So I think Stripe is a sleeper pick. I was not surprised, but the inclusion of Telegram and Binance specifically made me just go like, oh, they're such a big part of this crypto market that we are like not looking at most of the time. Coinbase, obviously.
Well, the other thing too is like so much communication is done in Telegram. Everyone has like a Telegram bot AI thing, like everything. Toncoin was so hot because of the connection to Telegram. Even though I kind of hate Telegram. I kind of hate it. It's kind of awful. I don't know why it's so popular because it's kind of the worst. It's so not conducive to actually being an organized environment for human communication.
No, it's tough.
I don't know why it's so popular.
It's tough. But I wouldn't be surprised if they continue. People like it and people like using it, and they got a ton of users, man. So that was their list: Coinbase, Binance, Telegram, Robinhood, and Stripe. So thank you for playing.
55 here on TikTok saying, disclose, I know one of the head guys of Stripe, great company. Wall Street 55, let him know. We'd love to chat with him.
Yeah, tell him we want to get in touch.
Probably do.
A couple of other questions coming up. Bearded wanted to know if we had seen the news with Ondo. Ondo Finance gained a comprehensive suite of regulatory licenses through its acquisition of Oasis Pro. Did you happen to see this?
No, I did not.
I didn't see this, and I would be curious if you could just peek at the chart to see if it did anything on the chart, and I will look it up on the Twitter, but I haven't heard anything about this. And generally, I would say that's good news. Anytime anybody anywhere can expand their ability to offer services, this is something we see a lot with Ripple is the undisputed king of announcing any and every kind of partnership that allows them to expand what they might be able to do, and especially to tell their story. But not all partnerships result in what I would call proof in the pudding changes. So do you see it in the price chart necessarily?
No, not at all. I mean, like it went up yesterday, but had a decent day yesterday, and it's just in a lot of different like wedges and patterns and stuff. I don't really like this draw.
And this looks like a press release to me, which makes me skeptical of it. And some of the claims it makes: through this acquisition, Ondo gains an engine for tokenizing real-world assets, a digital asset transfer agent and capitalization management solution, a primary offering marketplace. All these things, for the most part, that I think they have to some extent, or if they don't, sure, it'll expand their services. But I would expect this to be upstream of any significant change. The thing about Ondo, the thing about Ripple that makes me skeptical is that these are heavily funded companies. Ondo generates revenue, has real partnerships, substance, is the leader of providing infrastructure for tokenizing real world assets. I mean, they've got the Biddle fund that they host for BlackRock, for goodness sake. And yet, I think a lot of what they do is the product of having the money to tell you the story that would make you as a retail investor excited to buy their token. Because here's the thing about Ondo or Ripple or a lot of these companies, even Chainlink to some extent, they don't really need for people who use their product to buy their token in a way that's going to buoy the price. If they want the price to go up, that's your job. That's my job. So they need to have this sort of retail facing arm of marketing to prompt us to speculate on their tokens. The truth is, even if every financial institution was connected to some kind of service that used Chainlink to pull information, and required the burning of link tokens, like this Swift thing, as an example, or if every bank used Ondo to tokenize their assets and was spending Ondo tokens or whatever to burn them, it would cause like a marginal increase in demand for those tokens every month on the order of like thousands of dollars. It's not significant to move an asset's price whose market cap is in the billions. If you're a $1 billion company and your token is worth $1, for it to go up to $2, your market cap's got to be effectively $2 billion. People have to think your company is worth $1 billion more to support the trading of your token at a higher price. That's like the psychology there. So for many of these companies, that's why you see that their price goes up and then it sort of settles on these floors for a long time. Will, do you have any comments or thoughts to add? I'm not saying I think Ondo is a bad crypto investment necessarily, but just to illustrate the relationship of like news to price.
Well, in this case, like this just isn't the type of news that's going to get price action, you know? At least it's not in this market. It's just not like it. I don't know exactly what the news would have to be, but it's really, the market's really just kind of driven by ETF hype. And then you have to have like some serious money flowing to you. And Ondo does have really good TVL. There's a lot of money there, but like, you know, it's not really reflecting on price. The only thing that I'll add about Ondo is that you have some competition in terms of what's coming. Because like at the end of the day, you're bullish on Ondo because Ondo is the home of the tokenization of real world assets on chain right now. But real world assets will be tokenized by the NASDAQ and by, you know, other traditional means. Like, I mean, we have the Chicago Mercantile Exchange is looking to tokenize their options market. They're the largest options market in the world. The NASDAQ has already asked the SEC to start tokenizing stocks there as well. And so there's going to be natural competition for Ondo against these massive traditional financial giants, right? Yeah. And so you have to ask yourself, like, can Ondo really compete against them? The answer is maybe, right? Because the NASDAQ is global, right? But it's not 24/7. It doesn't have a lot of the decentralization features as well. But it has the people. So it's going to be very hard for Ondo to compete against it. But however, the NASDAQ looking to tokenize stocks, the CME looking to tokenize stocks, BlackRock looking to build and all that and tokenize stocks, and real estate and bonds and all that kind of stuff is definitely a thumbs up for Ondo because it's a validation of it. But it is also gargantuan competition. Yeah. Now, the NASDAQ as it tokenized stocks could then use Ondo to wrap their tokenized stocks and like kind of bring it into more of like the DeFi environment, I believe. But even then, I feel like they're just going to build a lot of their own stuff. So if you are an Ondo bull, the question is, okay, yeah, the tokenization of real world assets is a huge trend. Ondo is the leader. I'm going to buy. There's a thought process behind there that is good, but you have to ask yourself the next question. Can Ondo become the home of tokenization of real world assets like globally? And the answer is Ondo is still probably behind the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and all that, because they are real world assets. And then they'll just tokenize them where they exist. And you're going to have a lot of people never enter the decentralized space. Kind of going back to the conversation we've been talking about now with, you know, Coinbase incorporating Morphos technology into it. So you're not actually really in a decentralized way lending your crypto in a true decentralized manner, but you're still earning 10% on your USDC. So like, most people aren't going to care. It's going to be like people who are already using the NASDAQ are like, oh, I can now access this market 24/7. Hey, it's borderless. Hey, I can buy, you know, more fractions of tokens of, you know, bonds and stocks and real estate. Oh, okay, cool. And my money's already here and I'm used to doing this. All right, cool. I'm just going to do this here. So understand that while Ondo is too much talk in circles from Will. Sorry, Justice. I'll put a pin in this. I'll put a pin in this.
You're doing great, brother.
Doing great. Thanks, man. I just like to, you know, give my lungs just a nice little jog around in circles. So,
buddy.
Ondo is in a great spot to potentially do well short term, but just because it's the leader in crypto for tokenization of real world assets does not mean it's the likely leader to tokenize real world assets.
Yeah. Beautifully said. And a follow-up question talking about real world assets and how they actually really work. Can you clarify for us? Let me see who asked, because I want to make sure I answer the right question. And for the people saying we yap too much, this is a talk show. And thank you for making it such a beloved show. Shout out to all the folks who are listening live. We really appreciate you. And I do want to take this moment to tell you we're live Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. Central. We've got Market Watch with Will every week, Mondays at 7 p.m. And then Rise Up After Dark is live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central Time. And you can find all that. You don't have to remember all that. And all the free resources we offer, as well as the stuff that you can buy from us. Like if you just want to pick Will's brain one-on-one about your portfolio, or maybe you just really want to put a nice check up there and watch him pick his toes, he might let you do that. You could book that. Not the toe thing.
How much money? How much money?
How much money? Yeah. So you can do it all at the links in our bio at rumshq.com. Sorry.
I'll do whatever you want for money.
Please do PFS clarify for me what you mean by the tokenization of real world assets, just while I explain how this might work. For folks who are new to this concept or hear Jamie Dimon and other prominent financial analysts say tokenization is going to be the future, we're talking about using the technology that makes cryptocurrency possible to give assets like your house deed verifiability, meaning you won't need to hire somebody to certify that it's the real document. You'll be able to, without any technical training, effortlessly, airily prove, yep, that's the real one. And I own it. To attest to ownership with a token is much more easy than it is with a physical thing. But tokenizing a thing also gives its value velocity, right? If you had a house deed, that would be valuable. But what are you going to do? Sell it? Good luck. You got to hire a realtor. You got to file some licenses. You probably got to show your house. You probably got to clean it up. You probably got to pack up your dogs if you're Alex and take them out of there. But what if you had a token that represented your house and ownership of it, that maybe had a supply that you could sell to people to represent that, hey, one weekend a year, you can stay here, or some such thing like that, that you could take to a DeFi protocol like Aave, which is essentially a bank for and by people, and could put up those tokens to borrow US dollars without having to file for a loan or pay a bank an extractive rate. That is what tokenization does. There are lots of people who will make a play at offering the services to create digital tokens for physical things, because there are a couple of components there. Ondo is one such company, but there are many, and there are going to be many others who try to tell you that they're doing this and are relying on you not to know what we're about to share, because many of them are just, we say, vaporware. They're using a buzzword to sell you a token on the prospect that, oh man, this company's going to blow up. I'm so early. Most of them, they're junk. They need to have, these companies, the ability to identify assets. They need to have a legal setup, some sort of special purpose vehicle or trust. They need to have the proper custody and compliance framework. A lot of them are going to have to do know your customer stuff, anti-money laundering compliance like Coinbase does. They've got to comply with securities laws, Reg D, Reg S, Reg CF if you're in the United States. And if you're not in the United States, the list gets even longer. They're going to have a token issuance platform. That's going to be some sort of, like Securitize, which is what Ondo, BlackRock, and the Biddle Fund issue their tokens through. There's probably going to have to be some sort of regulated distribution of the token, a launch pad to facilitate the sale, a marketplace, DeFi integrations where there's liquidity, matching buyers and sellers. And then there are, ongoing fees to manage it, to make sure that those tokens have something to settle against. Liquidity needs to be provided. So all of these things are the requisite steps. And here's a quick list of companies that are doing this kind of thing in one way or another for some kind of real world asset, like a mortgage, like a house. Centrifuge, Maple Finance, which I know Will is pretty bullish on, Securitize, Ondo, MakerDAO, Goldfinch, Propy, and some TradFi institutions too, like BlackRock, Fidelity, JP Morgan. They've built a whole blockchain. Goldman Sachs also has its own tokenized bond issuance platform. You can look up GSDAP. That's probably going to real estate backed securities next, but there are several. And the community really is a great place to talk about this. So, excellent question. What do you think about it, Will?
Well, I saw another question that's related to this, which was what token will lead then? Which it was in reference to like, okay, well, like, hey, if Ondo still has a lot of competition for being the home of the tokenization of real world assets because of the NASDAQ and blah, 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 traditional finance doing it, what token will lead? I mean, like,
what do you think?
It's Ethereum. I mean, like, at the end, like, everyone's building on Ethereum. You know, you have your JP Morgan, you have your BlackRock. Fidelity really likes Solana a lot, but, you know, they're building everywhere too. And you have Swift building on Ethereum with Chainlink also. And so if you say, hey, I want exposure to crypto, and you say, hey, Bitcoin's important to me, cool, I got that. But also, I love this tokenization of real world assets thing. And you look at your coins, and you know, you can build a portfolio with Ondo, Pendle as like the two big leaders I consider. And then if you have a portfolio and you're like, hey, long-term, I'm super bullish on tokenization of real world assets, the majority of your portfolio should be Ethereum. And then you can add your Ondo and your Pendle as like the risky sides of that portfolio, because Ethereum is going to be the backbone of most of what gets built in the space. It is currently, and we just see that level of adoption maintaining momentum with the traditional financial world. So it makes sense that the traditional financial world is going to use Ethereum in layer 2s on it.
Yeah.
Like Swift is using Linnea. And so if you want exposure to the tokenization of real world assets, you can just buy Ethereum and you can call that a day, because that's super, super, super low risk. And then you can add, you know, a little bit more risk on positions, which would be your Ondos and your Pendles.
And I would also say there are other Ethereum beta plays like, you know, Hedera, Polymesh, Stellar integrates with Ethereum for liquidity and distribution rather than like replacing it. And, you know, they're all trying to do, you know, Hedera's got these like niche institutional use cases. They're a closed network. Stellar is trying to like create on-ramps and off-ramps for people in Latin America and other like developing countries very intentionally. So there are all these kind of like, you know, if that was too boring for you, ETH, then you like just take it one step further and see like, okay, well, who's building on ETH? Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'm bullish on JP Morgan. Maybe I'm bullish on BlackRock or those kind of things. So
yeah, and then
that's a good answer.
And it also depends on like, hey, what token's going to lead RWA? It depends on your time frame too. If you're not really interested in building a long-term position in crypto, then, you know, you go with your Ondo, your Pendle, and maybe two other super risky low-end plays, and then you're in and out of them over a month or 2 months or 3 months or something, right? But if you're looking to build a long-term portfolio, I mean, it has to be Ethereum as like your main focus. And then maybe you add a Solana, like you're going to add your platform cryptos, things that you're like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. These aren't going to zero. And they have people building on them. And that's Ethereum, that's Solana, that's Avalanche.
Avalanche. I forgot Avalanche.
I don't really see much about SWI for RWA, but
No.
I've seen chatter on SWI really fall off over the past couple months. So I need to go and refresh myself with what's happening there on chain.
Yeah, and some of these companies are multi-chain. Like Ondo it's got a USDY fund, and that's on ETH, but it's also got fixed income products on Solana. Biddle has tokenized funds on Ethereum, and they've been brought to Solana. So, you know, that's like an example of how downstream effects. If you've got a place that there are users, if you've got a usable infrastructure, this kind of stuff that Ondo is doing is just to, you know, compete with the big boys. Like Will said, in many ways, crypto companies, we're still kind of an underdog in this area of, while we have the innovation, we don't have the distribution. We don't have the financial infrastructure. A lot of people still work for, you know, a bank instead of a crypto bank. So it's a really interesting time to be paying attention.
Here's something that I think is going to be interesting, and we can get into the weeds a little bit more as from like an architectural comparison of Avalanche against the other chains that are similar to it. So this is also an excuse for me to talk about my new computer because I got Windows 11. With Windows 11 comes your ChatGPT competitor from Microsoft, which is Copilot, and Copilot is awesome. I've been using it for work too. It's so good, and I'm like, do I keep using ChatGPT or do it? Because I know Alex loves the one that starts with a P.
Perplexity.
I had to think about it. I'm going to practice with that a little bit, but like Copilot is awesome. And so I used Copilot to build out a matrix of, I was like, hey, Avalanche subnets are really special. Tell me why. Told me why. And I said, okay, what other blockchain like solutions out there are most similar to Avalanche? It gave me all those. You have Cosmos, you have Polkadot, you have like 2 other ones that are similar. And then I said, cool, build me a matrix that explains how and why the Avalanche subnet is an advantage or disadvantage as compared to all those 4. And so let me show what it built. And I just did this right before the show. So I haven't really had a chance to read through it perfectly myself, but this is what I have. So what is most similar to Avalanche is Polygon supernets, Cosmos zones, Polkadot parachains, Optimism and Arbitrum, and those are the things that are most similar to Avalanche subnets. And so the reason why I asked this question around Avalanche subnets is a lot of businesses are choosing Avalanche to build on Avalanche. And I was like, tell me exactly why, break it down. I knew it was subnets. And subnets allow businesses to build essentially their own individual blockchains on Avalanche. And so I was like, okay, cool. Tell me the other things that are similar. Explain to me, the impact. So if we take a look at Polygon supernets, which allow similar things versus Avalanche supernets, we can see that Polygon supernets inherit Ethereum's congestion and security model, whereas Avalanche subnets are sovereign and avoid Ethereum's bottlenecks. Avalanche allows private validators and compliance-specific setups, where Polygon is apparently a little bit more rigid. Avalanche lets builders skip tokenomics if not needed. Polygon forces token integration. Avalanche supports custom logic and performance tuning. Polygon is limited to Ethereum-style apps. So basically, I look at this and go, cool, there's just more flexibility in what you want to build and what you want to set up, apparently, in Avalanche subnets than on Polygon. So then if we come over here, take a look at Cosmos as compared. Cosmos excels at cross-chain communication. Avalanche is more focused on internal performance. So if you're looking for a blockchain to speak to other blockchains, looks like you want to go with Cosmos. If you're looking for Avalanche to really just kind of be like a fine-tuned, or you want your solution to be a fine-tuned machine just within itself, looks like you might want Avalanche. Both offer sovereignty, both Cosmos zones, but Cosmos zones must manage their own security from scratch, whereas Avalanche subnets can take advantage of Avalanche. Developer experience, Avalanche offers streamlined dev tools. Cosmos requires more setup and coordination, so a little bit easier for people to build on Avalanche and get started. But both seem to be great places to play. Cosmos is very popular for that. The last one here is Polkadot parachains. And when I first read about Avalanche subnets, I was like, okay, so this is just Polkadot parachains. So I was very curious to see.
I think parachains are a strong piece of architecture, honestly.
They are,
but they're not as the usage is, is the question. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So Polkadot parachains versus Avalanche subnets. In terms of Avalanche is permissionless. Polkadot's slot auctions are expensive and competitive.
They basically say who this year wants to use this subchain, and you got to stake tokens. People got to vote for you. It's a cool process, but like it's more oriented towards nerds like Alex. No shade, Alex. Than it is towards like people who really don't care about granular stuff. Just want to build something, man.
And so the next thing from security. So Polkadot offers pooled security. Avalanche gives full control, but still requires subnet level security on the Avalanche chain. If I'm understanding that correctly. Customization. Avalanche supports custom virtual machines and logic. Polkadot parachains must conform to relay chain rules. So again, Avalanche across all the comparisons so far seems to offer more flexibility in terms of what you want to build. Interoperability, Polkadot excels at cross-chain decentralized application communication, and Avalanche focuses on subnet performance. So again, just like with the Cosmos comparison, if you want something to communicate to other blockchains, you're probably not choosing Avalanche. But if you're choosing, you want to build a blockchain that does one thing super well into however you want to do it, it looks like you would choose Avalanche based on this. And so in summary, if your use case is enterprise apps needing compliance, speed, and control, you're going to choose Avalanche subnets. If you are focused on cross-chain DeFi or multi-chain decentralized applications, you're going to choose Cosmos Zones or Polkadot parachains, it seems. And then if you want quick Ethereum compatibility launches with moderate customization, it looks like you choose Polygon subnets. So I really wanted to get into the weeds of this a little bit more, and this is just the beginning of me doing this. But it's fascinating, and I've also been super impressed with Copilot so far.
So our friend Dawufi is in the comments and says he came from Polygon. He says, or excuse me, Polkadot. He says they're terrible at BD. And I just want to tell you, I have never personally met a builder who is in the Cosmos ecosystem who isn't either coming to terms with the fact that they don't get a ton of support, and though they love the tech, the chain is not the place to build, or super coping, like absolutely all in, my life and kids depend on Cosmos succeeding. Neither of which give me confidence. And the reason we're talking about this, or that Will is like even going to do this deep dive, is because you're a venture capitalist when you're investing in crypto. You're investing in companies that mostly don't even have a product yet. And so it's really important for you to think like a venture capitalist who would ask, if it was a business, what are they building? What are their products and services like? What's the background of their company like? How do they treat people who work there? All these kinds of questions, as well as technical questions that help you get an insight into the edge they might have against other similar competitive companies. So you really do need to understand, not in the same way a technical builder might understand computer code, but you need to understand a little about what kinds of problems these companies are trying to solve, so you can make an educated decision about who's actually going to swing the bat at it or just trying to sell you a token. Now, I mentioned Dawufi because we had some questions from our friend Rada, who shared ZKP2P with us yesterday. If you missed it or you want to play it along at home, the website is, in fact, zkp2p.xyz. And they are offering peer-to-peer crypto payments that are private. And I thought, oh, Dawufi, ZK, this brother probably knows him. I said, do you know these guys? He said, yes, in fact, I do. Can you come up on the stage? He said, yeah, man, I got time. I would love to talk about it. So please welcome, returning to the Rise Up Morning Show, our friend, Dawufi, my man. Thank you for making time to join us today. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm good, brother. What's going on?
Man, I am curious to know, first of all, with regard to the Polkadot, the Polygon, the Avalanche, you used to work at Polkadot? I don't think I knew that.
I worked at a parachain. This was my first job in crypto. That I actually, ironically, pivoted over to Eigenlayer, which is where Opacity is building. So there's been some similar arcs going on. I've been in some interesting back rooms with the Polkadot people.
Okay. Might have to save that for after dark. But we heard about ZKP2P yesterday, and we're super bullish on like a privacy preserving, make it easy to actually move money protocol. Do you have any details or inside scoop on us?
I get what can I get a little more context about,
yes,
like,
I'm so sorry. I thought you said I know
yes.
it well in the comment, and that's why I asked you on it. So let me
I do. No, I do. I know them well. I know the product well. What would be helpful, or do you just want like a broad sort of take on like the future of like private payments and such?
I would love your broad take. I'm going to give some context for the people who miss ZKP2P, but then I would love your more specific take about, these people. Are we bullish? Are we not? Without asking you to gossip, we're asking you to gossip. For folks who didn't see it, this is what the site looks like. And I was saying yesterday, I just thought it was such a brilliantly presented solution. Even if it's obviously geared towards crypto natives, on-ramp, whatever, in seconds. And I was looking at some of their liquidity stats, their volume stats. It looks like they've been moving a lot of money, but we had a friend, Rada, who brought them up and said, oh, I wanted to on-ramp CAD and I couldn't do it. So, like, where are they as a company? Are they like launched? Is it really a mature product? Are they still trying to build some stuff? I just want some more inside context because I thought this looked like a really promising solution. We all did.
So do you know that they're using zk-TLS or no? Was before you pulled me up here?
I assumed that they probably were.
Okay. Yeah, they are. Okay, cool. So I that's some more of the context I was looking for. Excellent work. I think they do a great job of not mentioning it. I don't think everyone needs to know what they're doing back there. No. It's a very interesting product, right? The idea roughly here that you can use this TLS technology, zk-TLS technology to how do I describe it, right? So like you send a payment, you generate a proof that the payment happened, and then their system can then send you your crypto funds. So you don't really need to know where the money came from. You don't need to know all these things. I'm very curious to see where their product direction heads. The stuff you were talking about with the RWAs, with the know your customer, with all the regulations, there's a lot of that for money transfers like MTL licenses in the United States, which, I'm not saying they have to get one for sure. I don't know all their legal implications, but with Plasma, with Tempo, there's going to be a lot more options for people to legally, transparently, hopefully privately, but TBD on that, transfer and move money around. We'll see. I think this is a very interesting shot on goal. Is sort of the short version of what ZK P2P is to me and why I think it's interesting. I think on like the bear case for what it is and what they're trying to do, most people care less about like full privacy than they do like their friends not knowing that they paid for a psychiatrist appointment, right? And there's easier ways to do that sometimes than this full-blown, complete privacy-preserving manner. So it might remain a niche product, but if they can sort of expand into sort of gray levels of privacy where someone knows who they are or someone knows who you are and you're just trying to send money to your father-in-law in a different country, that's instantaneous. But if the government comes knocking and says, was this for drugs? You could say, no, look, and then they figure out a way to do that. That's probably like the Super Bowl case for a product like ZK P2P.
So how responsive is the team? Because we do have several Canadian friends in the comments who are saying, yeah, their website says CAD, but I can't get it. I know they're on X, but do they live in one particular place? Because I'm sure they would want that feedback.
I can shoot them a note. We've got a Telegram group. Let's do this. If you really can't find them, feel free to message me. I'm happy to try to be helpful. I'm at Dawufi everywhere, X, Farcaster, Telegram. I try to make myself, like you guys, available to help. I don't want to promise anything. It's not my product, but I do like the guys over there, and I do think they would like feedback if they're not getting it. So if anyone's out there trying to do CAD with ZK P2P and it's not working, can't get in touch with them, feel free to drop me a note and I'll do my best to connect you guys.
And I would say you should drop them a note anyway and just say, hey, I was talking about you on a morning show with 175 with about 400 live viewers, and I would love to meet them because our people want to use their product, but some of them can't. Pour a little cold water and a little warm water on them at the same time. The pressure squeeze from both sides. I really would love to, talk to them, and I want to talk to you some more because I have been talking to Alex and Will about like, hey man, how can we get Dawufi closer to the show and Sophie back, and everybody loved the time that we spent. So thank you for being so available and for listening, dude. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Happy to yap all the time. Will clogs my feed with tokens and helps me make slightly better decisions, which I'm losing less money thanks to Will, which I think is what the goal is for my trading. So thank you, Will, and Evan, thank you for your positivity and all the information you guys put out there.
Always.
I do have to hop, but hopefully that's good. It's fun talking to you guys. I'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure.
Bye for now, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Dawufi. And at the same time as Dawufi leaves, we've got the handoff. I'm very pleased to welcome to the studio Mr. Alex Popovich, just in time for final thoughts, last words, and of course, dogs and ponies. How are you?
Exhausted.
I had a lot of comments that I saved for you, including when I shared your apologies for not being here. We will take his apology under advisement. Also, preventing is overrated. Oh, parenting is overrated. And several mentions in the comments of sweet child. Sweet child.
Sweet
Could he
child.
find Alex couldn't find the right door again. So everybody's really glad that you finally found the right door. You made it back. Did you enjoy the talk today? We had a really good show.
Yeah, I heard most of it. It was really interesting. Yeah, I could give a catch-all shotgun final thought on all of it. I caught basically from the RWA conversation onward. I thought Will, I thought your explanation, even though Justice didn't seem to like it, was not. He's muted.
Son of a gosh darn it. Dang it. Tartar sauce.
It was too hot for the air.
Wallop.
I didn't find anything circular about it. And as an expert of yapping in circles, I would say that I'm somewhat of the authority on the subject.
You are an expert of talking in circles and
Thank you.
never ending a conversation.
I didn't find anything circular about it. I thought it was a really good explanation that perfectly encapsulates exactly how I feel about Ondo, which is that I am excited by it, but that I think it has some pretty strong headwinds that it's going to have to contend with. And not that it's not capable of doing it, but it's not going to be easy. And there could be some trouble. And then, yeah, and just with all roads lead to Ethereum. Sorry, I didn't build the roads.
And this was a great. I didn't even get into.
Yeah, the check is in the mail.
Yeah, right. Opacity, vote for us.
Yeah. Oh, if Dawufi's still listening, if you guys are voting members of Octant, we could use the support. If you're watching out there and you're a voting member, the vote's open soon. Our project's on their website, Ethereum in plain English, because we want to tell that story.
Give us your money.
Yeah, I agree, Will. That was the kind of conversation that if Alex heard you talking about it at a conference, he would proceed to ask you 3 or 4 follow-up questions for the next, until we had to go.
And I'd be like, I'm so tired, but this man wearing all black, but somehow also the brightest pink is just killing me right now.
He'd say, that was really interesting what you said. Have you ever thought about, and you would go, actually, no. It would be, that's how it goes. When you take Alex to a conference, he's going to have the follow-up question. He's going to engage somebody more deeply than they thought they were prepared to be engaged. And
well, it's
then
because it always
best
throws them
friends.
off when someone listens to whatever their ramble was and then asks them a question about it. They're
right,
not-
you actually care about this?
They're like a Jehovah's Witness that you let into the house. They're never prepared to get this far in the conversation. They actually have nothing ready.
They're like, oh my God.
Wait,
Yeah.
shit.
And then Joe comes in behind Alex and says, now, how are you reaching everyday people? Like that's the 1-2 they weren't
Although-
expecting.
No, the
My
thing
favorite-
is, Alex doesn't scare them. They just go, oh my God, it's someone I can talk to. And then Joe walks up and then they're scared.
And there's
Then they're scared. How are you actually onboarding people? How do people actually use your product? I haven't thought about that question in years.
What do you mean users?
Users.
What do you mean
Like,
growth?
we
I
have
hardly know hers.
You said scale. What does that mean?
We've got a great question
I
from
have
Solomon.
seen the white whale, yes.
Yeah.
Evan, though, my favorite follow-up at a conference ever is when Evan dragged this poor SOB up to me and was like, dude, Alex, listen to this. And then he gives me his spiel, and my only follow-up was like, has it ever occurred to you that you're building a sweatshop for like indentured servitude? And that was the whole conversation.
So
It had never occurred to him. Spoiler.
So this guy, this is a good reason why you should go to crypto conferences. Okay, so we're in Miami, we're at whatever Bitcoin conference it was, and it was like the first year probably that conference was
Miami.
multi-chain. Everybody there was not just about Bitcoin; they were about all kinds of things. And I met this guy, who I was mostly interested in talking to because he was an advisor for Casper, which was one of many layer ones at the time, not Caspa. The proof of work, like going to be better than Bitcoin chain, Casper, which at the time had a lot more traction. And it was like in people's mouths alongside Avalanche or Solana when people were saying, who's going to be the ETH killer? Ethereum was like the category of one behind Bitcoin, and everybody else was like new and upcoming and who was going to have better, faster, smarter, cheaper. Casper was like in that conversation. It was not the front runner, but it was not an insignificant player. And this guy showed me his LinkedIn and was talking to me. I think we were outside smoking, and he told me he was an advisor at Casper. And he seemed like somebody who just maybe had a little too much money and a little too much time and didn't know what he didn't know. But I am easy to talk to and happy to be here, and was best friends with this guy in about 10 minutes. And I was like, great, we've got it.
Evan
in
gives
Casper.
everyone his time, even if they are completely just full of shit.
And sometimes really works out. Sometimes it really doesn't. And this is one of those times where I was like, okay, you know, this guy, he's a couple apples short of the tree. And I bring him upstairs to Alex because I'm still thinking like maybe we can get a relationship with this guy. Maybe we can, you know, Casper. Then he proceeds to talk about the sweatshop. And I was like, well,
Well,
there goes your social capital. And we never talked to him again. And from that moment, I was bearish on Casper. Big time bearish. Notice it's not here anymore. That's the kind of alpha you're not going to get in a press release or a
Just to be clear, though, we're not being hyperbolic.
Sweatshops.
This man's business idea was literally to put a bunch of lightly untrained people in a third world country in a call center. And
well, it was specifically crypto customer service. He said, you know, all these exchanges give you crypto products, but none of them have customer service. And at the time, they really didn't. He said, we need 24/7 on the phone customer service. How are you going to afford it?
Outsourced call center in Bangladesh and staff it with a bunch of people who didn't know anything about anything, but had a little script book that they could read out of. And I was like, that's a sweatshop call center.
Yeah, he's like, you could pay him like $2 an hour.
Dude, you can pay them almost nothing. It's amazing. Like this man was talking to me as if he'd cracked the code on underpaid third world paper.
Yeah. Now Alex was not. He was not having it.
Gross. Get the fuck away from me.
Ask the next follow-up question. Are you creating a sweatshop? Oh. Oh, wait. No.
Let's just like, okay, this is my final thought. The worst follow-up in the history of follow-ups was not a crypto conference. It was on the street of Boston, though, right outside of the Boston, or it was over by the Mariners house in the North End. And I was walking back from Pinkberry and heading towards the base, and these people stopped me, and they were asking me if I had a minute to talk about ending like child slavery. And I was like, I feel like I have to say yes. So sure, what's the how can I help? What are we doing?
Yeah,
and they gave me the pitch of their nonprofit, which was to raise money to then buy the freedom for these kids. And I'm like, you're funding slavery.
Yeah,
and they're
you're
like
creating more demand.
They're like, no, we're freeing them. I was like, you're paying the slave traders to give you a child and then setting them free, and then they're going to go get another one.
Not
because
ideal.
now they have infinite demand with you in your chair, and they had just it's never occurred to them. And it was a really awkward conversation.
Demand and supply. Oh no.
Damn. Economics strikes again.
Supply goes up. Oh shit.
Now we are really going to do final thoughts. I cannot let that be your final thought though, Alex, because somebody asked a really good question that I want your input on, which is, do you have any recommendation of where to look to dive into crypto philanthropy? You want to do charitable giving, you want to do it through crypto, or maybe there are crypto companies that are making philanthropy better on chain.
Yeah.
What kinds of recommendations do you have, Alex?
So the two directions you could go, are you looking to, is someone like looking to donate contribute meaningfully to philanthropic efforts using crypto, or they're trying to talk about like charities or nonprofits that utilize crypto?
I think it's the former.
Okay.
Of course, we would be excited to know about the latter two, and that latter is definitely going to expand. But talk about the former. How do you become engaged philanthropically through crypto?
I don't know the link off the top of my head, but I will find it, and we can put it in the show notes and in Circle and everything. There is a data bank of nonprofits that are registered with certain crypto donation like vehicles, and you can use that to like find nonprofits that accept crypto. To be honest though, there's a lot of really cool stuff here. Any nonprofit not taking advantage of crypto donations is really missing the mark, like in a huge way. And if you don't believe me, just look up the data about charitable contributions in crypto versus fiat and the averages. The average fiat donation to a nonprofit is about $40, and the average crypto donation is about $10,800 when averaged out. So there's less charitable giving with crypto, but a lot of that is because the options don't exist. there's a lot of desire to contribute through crypto. And actually, friend of the show, Mark Sepulveda, works over on behalf of St. Jude Children's Hospital, and is basically like their head of Web3, and largely spends his time facilitating and sourcing donations through the blockchain world. They have booths at every major crypto conference, and Mark is there. Mark knows everybody. Mark is like on the podium next to Angie is in terms of who knows the most people in this industry.
Oh, yeah, and Alex is a close. I think you might.
I'm
I think you might give Mark a run for his money.
I'm getting there. I'm working on it. Then the best thing you can do is if you have a nonprofit that is important to you, you can offer to help them set up the ability to accept crypto. It can be as easy as showing the chair or the board or the director or the owner, whoever operator of the nonprofit, just how to set up a wallet and list it underneath the different ways. That it can be as simple as creating them a Bitcoin address and posting that Bitcoin address on the website and allowing it to receive donations. I'm hugely bullish on it because it offers so much more transparency and trackability and accountability to nonprofit funds, and nonprofits, especially the really, really big ones, scraping way too much of it to contribute to salaries is a huge problem. If you want to get sad, go look at how many of your dollars actually make it to the cause. If you donate to big organizations like the Red Cross and stuff like that, there's a huge percentage of those donations that go to salaries. Not to say they don't do good work, but they also have to pay a ton of people, and there are other charities. I did it for the rescue. We can accept anything. There's like the Giving Block and End Given. There's these companies that sort of facilitate donations. I'm kind of bearish on some of them because they charge the nonprofit to accept donations on their behalf, which is really stupid. And actually with the Giving Block, you have to pay them even if you don't receive a donation. They have a yearly subscription fee it's ridiculous. If you call them, they'll waive it for you, usually, like if you complain about it. But if they don't, it's thousands of dollars a year, even if you never receive a single donation. The project that I worked on briefly was called, what was that one that I did really briefly that like fell apart?
I thought it was in
CrowdStake.
Oh, no. CrowdStake. That's right.
Yeah, CrowdStake, which was a really cool idea. I'm really sad that it doesn't exist anymore. But the concept there was that, and they actually patented this particular flavor of tech where you can stake your ETH through the validator that is CrowdStake, and then they will contribute the yield to the nonprofit of your choice. So you basically stake your ETH to the nonprofit that you want to support, and your yield from your ETH goes to that nonprofit in any percentage you want. If you want to give them all of it, half of it, a tenth of it, whatever, split it up to 10 different nonprofits, is really, really, really cool because the biggest population of donors is micro donors, and micro donors are often the people who are struggling the most themselves financially, but still find ways to contribute and want to help, because it's just how it works. People with the most often don't give very much. And
Alex, are you familiar? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You can allow people to contribute $100 that they want to donate to their favorite nonprofit, and if they need it back, they can take it back. You just unstake it and keep it, and the whole time it was there, it was working on behalf of the nonprofit. It's really, 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 really cool. That's actually how I got to know Octane.
I gotta get out of here.
See you, dude.
I love you, man. Thanks
Bye,
for a great show.
Love you all. See ya. Bye. See you on the internet.
That's how I got to know Octane at first, because I was posting about that on Warpcast, and they reached out and we had a conversation about it. And then unfortunately the project didn't really go anywhere, but really, really cool. Yeah. If anyone wants to like talk more about nonprofits and stuff, I don't need to take up more show time with it, but I will talk your ear off, and I will happily help any nonprofit get set up to accept crypto donations.
No, we're good now. Now that Will was, I was trying to get you to wrap it before Will gave his final thought, but now that we have absolutely pushed him out alone in the cold, then you can yap. I will. I also wanted to share just endowment is the one that I would say.
That's the one that has the database of that's the one I was trying to think of.
Okay, it's spelled like NDAO, like decentralized autonomous organization DAO meant. And their whole thing is they'll allow you to kind of set up your own digital asset fund for different organizations. Their website is app.endowment.org, but we'll put it in the description too so you can get the spelling for it. And fun fact, Alex, did you know that Endowment has reached out to us through a marketing agency to try and get us to
I-
do a video for them?
Might have seen that. I would
And
do
I
a video for endowment
I responded to say,
for free. I don't need to get
yeah.
paid for it.
yeah, but also like if they really want to work out a campaign, like they should call us and come on the show. And so I sent them a direct message saying, hey, someone reached out to me on your behalf, and we don't really like to do like one-off commercials. So what can we do
They just
together?
don't
And they
work,
left me on read. And then the plot thickened because our friend Maggie, who is also in Octan's Epoch 9 creator cohort, who does SheFi,
For sure.
she is on the board at Endowment. So I sent
Oh.
her a little message to say, Maggie, can you help us
Interesting.
connect with them? Because like, what's the best way to follow up? I would love to help Endowment. I think they'd be great guests on the show
Mhm.
for a philanthropy focused episode. And I think that a lot of people would be really excited to learn about the possibilities for crypto giving. So Endowment, if you're listening, we'd love to help you spread the good word. Honey Buzz and many others in our audience say, I want to learn more. I love this subject. Thank you. This is great. And I agree.
Correct.
So it's really, truly that time. Those were our final thoughts, I think. That was my final thought. Do you have a final thought? Or are you well met?
I would say to the comments that I saw asking about connecting on the nonprofit thing, send me an email. That would be the best. Please don't DM me because it will get lost forever. My email's in my bio.
Your
no,
bio
just
where?
everywhere. TikTok, Twitter. I'm sure it's somewhere. YouTube.
Can I
Alex,
just
Alex
say
at
it?
rumshq.com.
Thank you. Making it easy for the people.
There it is.
And if you want to email me, guess what my email is? Or Will,
Pumpkin
guess what
Spice
his email
Pirate
is?
at hotmail.com.
Yeah. Not Alex or Will at rumshq.com. Oh, this is great. I'm glad you made it for the end of the show. If you've
Yeah.
got a question that we didn't answer, then I need you to jump into the community. It's community.rumshq.com. And if you're listening in the future, hello. Hope your candles are green. You can find all the links we talked about in today's episode in the description below, all the links to reach us in our bio. And it seems a good time to remind you that we will never, ever, under any circumstances, send you a direct message on any platform unsolicited. We're never going to knock on your door with literature about the good word of Bitcoin. We're never going to ask how your investing is going. No legitimate creator ever will. So if anybody reaches out to you that way, you can be confident it's a scam. Don't send them money. Don't give them information. If you want help from us, you got to find us at the official links because we will help you. We are friendly. But Alex is not going to send you a message that says greetings or inshallah or anything like that. He's not going to send you a message at all. You got to connect with us. And the best way to do it is all the official links at rumshq.com. So thank you for being the very best part of what we do. Until next time, everybody stay safe. Be well. My friends, rise up.